All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining us for R828. This is a video podcast, and R828 is simply an abbreviation of Romans 8 and 28 in the Bible, which says that all things work together for good for those who love God, who are called according to his purpose. So we want to magnify and illustrate that through some wonderful interviews, talking to people who have overcome a lot of obstacles, but people who've also made a lot of mistakes to get to their purpose and to continue to live out their dreams. So, without further ado, let's get into the first guest that I have here today. And this is none other than the fashion architect. She is amazing on Instagram. If you follow her, always with some cool, fun styling ideas, fashion designer, stylist. Hey, how you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
I guess I was trying to think, how did I want to start this? And I've had the pleasure of already knowing you, but let's just give people a little bit of the background. Flint's own, Flint's finest. How did you get into fashion in the first place?
I started doing fashion because my grandfather, he introduced me to the sewing machine. And so I think I was always into it because my mom was into cosmetology and, like the hair, the nails, and all of that. But actually getting into fashion, my grandfather used to use the sewing machine to sew up holes and stuff like that in his pants. And he taught me how to use the sewing machine when I was in the 7th grade. And so
Wow.
that's what sparked it.
Your grandfather. That's amazing.
Yeah.
As you got further into your career and everything, do you feel like that helped to keep you on that path and to keep you sort of grounded, having that basis foundation?
Yeah, I think so because when I was using a sewing machine and he was teaching me how to use it, I had no instruction really. It was like he was self-taught. It was something that he was just doing at home. But when I went to school and started to like learn the technical side of it, like
Right.
I low-key almost dropped out, and I dropped out, but I kicked out of my sewing class because I was doing so horrible because I was learning the technical side of it and like putting the creative part with it and putting it together can be like frustrating at times. And so I think it is something that kept me grounded. And my family is always like the base of everything that I do. So of course, yes, that's what continues to push me today.
You know, Speaking of family, this part of your story is really always so, it's emotional and it's touching because it's something that you never should have to go through, but you
Mhm.
did go through a real tragedy with losing your brother. Tell people about that and what you did because of it.
Yeah, so in 2011, I lost my brother to gun violence. And so before he died, I had just moved back to Flint from New York. So June, I moved back. July, we got married. And then October, I lost my brother. So it was like a whole bunch of like craziness going on emotionally. But in between that time, he would bring people to my home who were interested in fashion, like his friends, anybody. He'd be like, just call my sister or just show up at my house with some random people that I don't know. And he's like, I need you to help them. I need you to help them. And so we started to do Fashion Against Violence, which is what our outreach program that we do to just introduce people to the career paths of fashion and to help them to bring their vision to life. Because a lot of times people have an idea, but they just don't know how to actually manifest that thing. So that's something good that came out of it. And I believe that whole the conversation that we had the week before he died is continuing to live on through that mission. So yes, nobody should have to go through that. Everybody finds their own way of dealing with grief. And for me, it was fashion. It was like continuing on with this plan that we started before he passed, and it continues to go on now. So it makes me smile knowing that it's still going on.
Yeah, and I mean the amount of people who you're reaching because of that, like you said, with the outreach, I think a lot of it, especially for fashion or maybe some of the arts and things like that, is having access and knowing that this is actually a career and here's what I can do in that career to have that as a child, or
Yeah.
even a teenager, it's very important.
Yeah.
Would you say that was your lowest moment?
No, I think my lowest moment came 7 years after that, which is when I realized that the grief and everything that I was doing in the community was like my way of like going through it, but I never dealt with it. Like I never dealt with a lot of things that was going on with me internally and emotionally. But you know, it was like the mission is going on. We're doing fashion shows. We're helping so many people. But at the end of the day, I was still hurt by what happened to my brother. Like I lost my brother. And so I think that we have to really start to think about like mental health is very important to really consider. I know a lot of people talk about it, but talk to a therapist, figuring out how you feel about stuff, and knowing, like, I knew the why I was doing things, but I didn't know why after I would do events. I would come home and just be like a total mess, a total wreck. Like, you know, I'll be crying. I'm like so emotional, and that's normal. You know, you having like a good time and stuff like that. But for me, it was also, I was still grieving not having my brother. And so that's when it hit me. And I started to really try to figure out how to heal myself from the situation while helping other people, you know?
You know what? That's a good point, because I do think some of us, when we go through hard times and any challenge, you look for the bright light. You look for the way to kind of pull yourself up kind of instinctively, or whether it's your faith that's pushing you through. But that's a good point. You do have to kind of still deal with the fact that you lost your brother, even though you have this desire, which is beautiful, to help other people in your own way. I don't want to get too personal, but how were you able to kind of look within yourself and find out what you needed to move forward?
I did. I sought out a therapist. That was the one thing. At first I didn't, and I was like, well, I'm gonna just try to just figure out why I'm feeling this way, or why I have certain things that are happening in my life. And I think one of the things that came out of that too was the fashion architect, and like focusing more on helping people to understand how we can see things. Like our life always gives us these little signs that we don't pay attention to. And so like for me, it was like, I love to dress up, but my room is always a mess, you know? Or my closet is disorganized, you know? Yeah. And so unpacking that, I started with the revelation of seeing how God is a God of order. And he took me to Genesis 1 and just how, girl, that was so much revelation for me. I'm like, I have no order in my life. Like there's no order. Everything is disorganized. When I try to get up to go anywhere with my kids, it's like a whole fiasco, you know, like shoes everywhere, clothes everywhere. And so I started with my closet, just organizing my closet. And as I started to organize it and put things in order and throw things away that I didn't need anymore, donate things, like that whole process showed me about my life. It was like, in your life, you have to cut things off. In your life, like it's some things and some habits that you need to throw away. Like literally, just throw the clothes away. You know?
Get rid of it.
To a lot.
Right. That's a good you know what? That's a good practical tip. Just clean out your closet. Just go to your room, figure out what you don't need, declutter your life, and make space and room for the stuff that, or the, you know, the things that you really want to be intentional about. So that kind of like the first step, you know, you
that was my first.
You cleaned out your closet, and then you kind of are on this new wave, and I can see it. Not stalking your social media, but just paying attention to it, you know, just, you know, supporting.
Thank you.
But the light and the life, you know, that is exuding from that is, I love to see it. I just love to see it because it's so bright and it's so positive. Tell people what you're doing now as the fashion architect. What's like your main thing?
Okay, so basically what I'm doing now is I still have Fannie Lucille, which is my brand, and developing the collection. And I'm sorry if you hear a kid that's trying to come in.
It's okay. Yeah, you got the Fanny Lucille brand and
Fanny Lucille. So just learning how I spent like the last year to dig deeper into understanding why emerging designers don't have access to the things that other brands have access to. And so I went to Magic, I went to New York, I went to LA. I started to build so many different relationships with people, vendors, manufacturers, not only for myself, but to figure out a way that I can help other designers to not go through what I went through, you know, on this journey, and just learning how to kind of embracing the fact that even if you're a home-based fashion business, understanding that your mindset has to be like, oh, I'm still like a Gucci or Chanel. Not now, you may not be in a Nordstrom or doing things that they're doing, but your mindset has to be there in order for you to grow. And so I think that working with the brands and working with emerging designers with Vehicle City Fashion Week and Fashion Against Violence, I started to see this pattern that everybody would come to me and they want to help. They wanted to understand things. They wanted to understand how to grow their brands, but I would bring buyers into these shows and there was no tags, you know, in their clothing. There was no finished seams in the inside. And there was so many things that I was trying to implement to them, but they couldn't understand. And I think that it has to be a shift of mindset. And so I've been more focusing on bridging that gap with the things that I've been doing and offering a lot of different services to help other fashion entrepreneurs to be able to take just one idea, to take it through the design process and actually make the first sample. So, because that's the first step with a lot of businesses. It's like, just make that one product, get it done the right way, and then you can take the next step to do other things. And so me and my husband has been working a lot together. He also has Velocity Tees, which is where he does like t-shirts, vinyl printing, sublimation, things like that with the t-shirt world, or just, you know, adding your branding to different pieces that you want to do if you want to go in that route. So together we have created the Curate Space, which is basically a space that we're creating to help other entrepreneurs to develop their brands and stuff like that. So
what's the feedback been like from some of these emerging designers?
Really good, because the packages that we started to offer is like just simple things. Like if you want to create a t-shirt brand and you don't really know what to do, we help them to get the graphics that they need, make the sample that they need, but also talk to them about the things that they would need for going forward. So this is how you take your tags out, or do you need to the service of taking the tags out of the t-shirts and adding your own branding. We even like fold the t-shirts up and put them into bags so that they're ready to like sell, because a lot of people just they're just not ready. They don't think about that part. It's just like, make my t-shirt and I'm just throwing it in the bag and just give it to my customers. And it's like, no, there's a whole process that you need to do. And if you start it with your first item, then you won't have to get to the 30th time of like doing something with your business and then finally have an aha moment. You don't want to wait that long.
Right. You want to start off on the right foot.
Yes. And I think it's like I said, I just think it's a mindset thing that people think that because you're a small brand or you're a small business that you have to do things in that type of way. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to spend a whole lot of money. You know, you want to adjust things to your budget of whatever your business budget is, but just having a business budget, like what is your business budget? People don't think about that. So I think that's where I am right now. I just really want to make sure that people coming after me don't have to go through all the hoops and things that I went through with my fashion business. So,
and you know what? I didn't even kind of give people sort of the lead up to your, you know, your entrepreneurship, because you're someone who's traveled all over the place. I was listening to one of your podcasts actually just recently, and you've kind of been everywhere internationally in bringing that back to your hometown now in Flint and doing this internet business as well. Give people a little bit of background on that.
So that was like one of my goals when I went to college. Well, after I found out that like my art, what I was learning in my art class, like I could actually go there and learn. Like, I was like, oh, that's it, because I'm a hands-on person, so I would rather like go to the Louvre or go somewhere and actually look at the art. So that's where it started. And so I was like, I want to go and study somewhere else. And so I went to study in London. And then once I got to London, I was like, oh, I want to go to every fashion capital of the world. So then I did that. And then once I graduated, I was like, I had to find the closest thing that was London, but in the United States.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, that's New York. So then I went to New York, and then just over the past couple years, I've been like going to LA. So it's just my goal to go there because it's something that refuels me. I think that I found that traveling and being around other creatives in other spaces is what refuels me. So it's something that I have to do in order to continue to move forward with everything that I'm doing. Because you got kids, you got husbands, you got life.
Life is busy. Yeah, I get it. And I'm the same way. I think I'm fueled by creativity in general. I like that. And obviously my background in journalism, it's not as much of a creative space. It's become more that way today. But yeah, because you get inspired by other people, you get motivated by other people, and you can kind of, feed off of that, and in your, do that in your own lane or whatnot. What do you wish that you knew starting out? Like, if you could go back and tell yourself one thing, what would that advice be?
Everything that you have is all you need. I think sometimes we try to make it like, for me, it's like a goal thing. Like, I had this thing in my mind, like, okay, when I get like 40, or when I get 30, I'm getting my master's. And then when I get like 45, I'm going to have my brand right, and then I'll teach people. Like, I'll go back and be a professor and
you
teach
sound
fashion.
like me, but just in another field. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I was like, I wish that like, when we were in fashion school, that I would have like really honed in, because I made stuff for people. I mean, I dressed all my friends for college parties. Everybody came to me to get that. I did nails, so I did everybody nails. I did everybody hair. I dressed everybody for everything. And so I just wish that I had then. I mean, it's the same gifts that you have now. You add on to them. So I just wish that I wasn't looking to be like, oh, I need to work with this person in order for me to have what I need in order to give to the world. Like, you already have it. So bloom where you're planted. Like, wherever you're planted at that time, you can bloom anywhere because you already have what you need inside of you.
That resonates with me. I'm reading the book of Philippians now, where actually I'm doing it with the church, where we're studying the art of contentment. And it's about knowing the difference between being content and being complacent, and finding that inner peace no matter where you are, what the situation is. So that gets really deep, and it really is it's nothing that happens overnight. Like, you just you have to go through it to get to it, in a sense. So let's switch gears a little bit. I want to get to know your style sense.
Okay.
So, who would you say, what are your top brands? Maybe give me 3 top brands other than your own.
That's kind of hard because, okay, so my top brands would be, but I don't.
Or style, like, you can, it doesn't have to be brands, but maybe like style choices or something like that.
I like to say that my style would be like, if Chanel and Nike had a baby. Like, I always say that. People be like,
okay.
So I think that it's like classic but functional and comfortable. Like, that's me, I would say.
I'm with that. I like that.
But I can't really say brands because, like, I really love Gucci right now, but I don't wear Gucci.
Right. I see.
Like, I don't buy it often, So, but I love Gucci. I love thrifting. I like Target. You know, I like I've really been like focusing on Black designers and just really trying to like get my closet full of them, you know. So I like Fino, I like Hanifa.
Okay.
I love their stuff.
And I'm the same way in the sense I don't necessarily like what's kind of out there, what people may necessarily expect. So for me, I can see beauty in something that, you know, other people might not. Do you find that when you're styling people that you are doing it based on, you know, like that individual, or is it based on, you know, what your idea is of that individual or brand or whatnot?
I think it's both because I like to understand who I'm styling for, but I also like to implement what I see like in them. And sometimes it's a fight because like you'll say like you could tell me I want to wear a skirt. There's like so many skirts. So I could bring a skirt and you would be like, I would never wear that. But then when you put it on, you'll be like, wow, I never knew I could wear that, you know? So
right.
yeah. So I think it's like you have to be able to think about the person's personality and what they're wearing and where they're wearing it to. But also bringing something different to them that they would just be like, I would have never thought to do this.
Right.
I always do that. So.
And what's your best style tip if you had to give one style tip to, you know, before you leave the house, do this, or, you know, if you're going to wear a top, I don't know. What do you tell the people?
I feel like, okay, so if you're going to leave the house, I love lipstick.
Okay.
So I can be like busted and like my favorite is red. I didn't put my red lipstick on today, but I usually do.
Okay.
I have on my daughter's lip gloss today.
The lip gloss is popping.
Yeah. So she, you know, that's a whole nother story. But I always tell people that I think that lipstick will just like make you happy. And it's not lipstick for everybody. It could be some one thing that you find that is like bomb that will make you feel great. So like if it's a jacket that, I mean, I could look like totally crazy. If I throw on my little moto jacket, honey, I feel great. You know,
right.
like
between the jacket and the hair, I'm loving it. And you probably took 5 minutes to put that together.
I did, but that's what I like though.
Yeah.
But that's what you find when you build a closet that's like classic and not trendy. Whatever you grabbing in the morning, you know, you should be able to put a look together real quick if you have all the right pieces, you know.
I like that. So, classic, not trendy. Hashtag classic, not trendy.
I'm going to hashtag that.
You should do that. I like that. Okay. That. All right. So we are just about done. I mean, where can people find you, and anything that you want to allude to that's coming up in 2021 and whatnot? I say whatnot so much. I know people are going to be like, just this girl says whatnot the most out of anybody in the world.
Well, you can find me I'm on Instagram, The Fashion Architect, THA, not THE. Facebook, I'm Kayla Wilburn, and my website is thefashionarchitect.com. And I also have a group on Facebook where I help women to just give them tips on what to do with their closet, tips on organizing, tips about different pieces that you should have in your closet. And we just talk, you know, it's a good little platform, little community where we can just like talk about that too. So
what's the Facebook group called?
It's Essential Tools to Curating Your Closet. I might be messing that up though, but I'll send you the link.
Curate your closet. Okay. All right. Well, we'll double check and make sure we have it correct. Thank you so much, The Fashion Architect, for doing this. I'm so excited for people to see it.
Thank you so much. I hope I didn't go too far off because
Nope, you are perfect. All right. Take care. See you.
Thank you.